All right, what up, homies? Welcome back to Fishing with Flex. I guess you could unofficially call this episode number 2 out here at the Trey, prospect number 3. Just caught another rainbow trout. It unhooked itself right as I was grabbing the net. So that makes 3 fish that I've lost that came unhooked right before I netted them, except for the one yesterday that I landed. So I actually caught 3 fish yesterday, 3 rainbow trout, but 2 of them came unhooked before I was able to get the net on them. But it happens to everybody, you know, it's part of the game. Right now I'm kind of anchored up in this corner spot here. Water's pretty murky like it always is here. It's like that all year. I don't think I've ever seen the water crystal clear here, which is good and bad. I mean, it's hard for the fish to see you, but it's also hard for you to see the fish. I'm currently wearing Oakley prism polarized lenses in my sunglasses, and it doesn't matter what brand it is or how good allegedly good the lens quality is. You're just not going to see into this murky water. I mean, honestly, I recommend using baits that are black or dark color, you know, like a black Cinco, black with blue flake Cinco, you know, something that provides that contrast. I got a Berkeley Maverick Chapo here, the 75 size, on my Voltic rig. And I got the weighted wacky hook here on this one that trout just stole. My last general power bait, the general, you know, stick bait that was on here. So I just got to rig that back up and start casting back out, see if I can get another one. Yeah, as you guys can probably see, I got the Garmin Striker Vivid here working. It has down scan, it has traditional, it has clear view down scan, and then it has side view scan here. And I mean, I love this graph, man. It's dope. You have this mode where you have all 3 active at once. You have the traditional there, bottom left you have the clear view sonar, and then this bigger window here to the right is side scan. I mean, yeah, this was kind of pricey. It was about $500, you know, plus tax. But when you look at a comparative live scope out there, I mean, it's $500 for even the smaller screen, like the 5-inch. You're looking at $500 for just the head unit, and then an additional $500 for the transducer. That's the wild thing to me about the live scope systems, is the transducer costs as much as the head unit. And I don't know, I'm not completely sold on those. I know, you know, the Bassmaster, you know, circuit, they depend on those to win tournaments now. And it's crazy because those are legal, but holding a GoPro underwater is not legal to do, even though it's pretty much the same thing. But now we got a lot of fish biologists, especially down in the south, that are saying that the fish are not having a good reaction to the side scan, you know, the forward-facing sonar, because it chirps and it pings those radar signals out to the side, and the bass can feel that on their lateral lines on their sides. So, I mean, my prediction is the bass are going to start to get spooked by the forward-facing sonar, and maybe the industry will shift back towards technology like this, the, you know, clear view and the side scan sonar. But who knows? I think, you know, live scope is here to stay. It's being allowed on the Bassmaster circuit, at least, because the companies that make the forward-facing sonar, you know, Garmin, Humminbird, Lowrance, big companies like that, they're major sponsors of the Bassmaster tournament events. You know what I mean? So if you know, if the top brass at BASS decided, you know, hey, live scopes are cheating, we can't use them anymore, Boom, there goes all that sponsorship money. You know they're not going to say no to that. All right, trying to get back over here to the shallow bank. Unfortunately, these local kids have decided to post up there. That's where I usually launch my kayak from. They were here yesterday, and one of them got snagged up and he asked for help, so I busted out my trusty extendo here, my lure retriever, and I got down to where his hook was snagged up, and it turns out he had a fish on the whole time. He had a fish on, but his line was snagged on another line that somebody snagged on a piece of wood that was on the bottom. And even though he had a fish on, his hook was snagged on a hook and line that was down at the bottom already. So he thought it was a snag, but he actually had a fish. So I guess the easiest way was I cut his line loose and I cut his hook loose. I landed the fish and then I cut it loose from the snag, from the line it was snagged on. And I just paddled it over there and handed him the fish that he caught. So, I mean, I'm out here, I mean, personally, I mean, I live and I fish in Colorado all the time. And I mean, there's so many other people out here that fish, you know, including kids like this that are, you know, they're probably under 15 and they get to do it for free without having to pay for the stamps, which just keep getting more and more expensive every year because they keep expanding CPW's reach over different programs, you know, different like gun control restrictions and other things that they've rammed through into effect. You know, that the will of the people necessarily, you know, isn't that. The people don't necessarily want that. But at the same time, they're going to make you pay all this money and jump through all these hoops to exercise your constitutional rights in this state. But who's in charge of that program? CPW. So where do they get the money from? By raising the cost of fishing and hunting, you know, fishing licenses and, you know, the cost of entry into the tag lottery for hunting. That's where they come up with the money they don't have, by raising the prices on the stuff that they know people are going to buy it every year. But that being said, there are so many people that actually will pay. Like I paid $71 for a 2-rod license this year. There are just an absolute ton of people that fish in Colorado. And because of that, a lot of people are real salty about it. You know, a lot of people are really toxic about it. So, I mean, I'm trying to be the opposite of that. I'm trying to be out here and be positive and help people and give people helpful information. If I see you out here and you're snagged up and I happen to be out here on the yak and I got the extendo on me, I'll help you get unsnagged. All right, we back. The wind kind of carried me off even though I had the anchor down. I guess there was nothing for the anchor to grab onto. Then again, that can be a problem too if you have one of those traditional, like I have a 4-pronged anchor. I mean, you run the risk of that getting snagged on something to the point where you're gonna have to like cut it off and leave your anchor at the bottom of the lake, which sucks. So that would be the advantage to running just a smooth but heavier weight anchor on your kayak. I currently have the Yak Attack 1 that's just a manual. You know, you just wrap it around that handle to lower it and retract it, and that sucks. I mean, in this kayak, the Bonafide RS 117, it's hard to reach over there. You really got to reach, or you got to scoot up on the kayak seat, and it's a pain in the ass. So I don't recommend this. But everybody and their grandma wants that retractable anchor that Yak Attack just came out with. So I'm on the hunt for one of those. If any of you guys know where to get one, where they're not gonna, you know, gouge me on the price and the shipping, you know, like some of the eBay sellers do, let me know in the comments. All right, got the power bait pumpkin green Cinco on here with the weighted wacky hook on here. Gonna throw out a few times and see if we can get anything. That felt like a bite. Yeah, they must have stocked this pond with rainbow trout in the spring sometime, because all I've ever usually seen in here are bass and catfish and carp. There definitely were a bunch of carp in the shallows in the last couple weeks. Saw a bunch of them over there by the famous laydown, which is probably the most popular spot to fish from the bank. Yeah, sorry about that. Even though I'm anchored up, you know, the wind changes and it changes the direction of the water current, and it kind of spins the kayak around where the anchor point is. So the camera may not always be aligned with where the tip of my rod is. So, I mean, the only short-term solution I see to that is I'm gonna have to get some kind of a headband that goes around the outside of my bucket hat that has a mount for my camera cage. All right, since we're pointing in this direction, we'll just cast in this direction. Perfect. I mean, that's a weighted wacky hook. It's a 1/4 ounce. Berkeley makes them. They're the Berkeley Fusion hooks. You can get them at Walmart. I think they're just under like $7 a pack for 6 of them. So that's about, you know, roughly about 90 cents a hook. But that's part of the reason I can bomb a wacky worm out there with a bait caster like this. And also, these are Lou's custom XP reels, but these have been custom tuned by Spool's high-speed bearings in North Carolina. So allegedly, they polished all the internals on this reel to make it smoother and give better casting distance. But it also has ceramic Japanese bearings, replacing the factory bearings from Lou's. So that's another reason why I'm able to bomb it out there. And honestly, I need that from the kayak because I have to cast from a seated position. I'm not gonna get the same kind of distance that I would casting from the bank. But also the big downside to having the ceramic Japanese bearings in a bait caster is the tendency to overrun. Even if I turn the magnet up to like 9 or 10, I'm still prone to get a backlash because of those high-speed bearings that are in there. But I do recommend them if you primarily fish from a kayak and you need that extra, you have to cast from a seated position all the time and you want that extra distance. Go off here to the left. Yanked it a little bit, but it's all right. Yep, definitely cottonwood season this time of year. Getting a bunch of cotton on my spools. I'm gonna have to go through and clean up all my spools now because a bunch of cotton floating on the water from the female cottonwoods. Yep, as you can see, we're drifting back out to sea, or the middle of the lake. It's because the depth on the anchor rope is higher than the bottom now. Like there was nothing for an anchor prong to grab onto on the bottom. So now the wind is starting to carry me back out into the middle of the lake. And at least this lake in particular, I tried to avoid going way out. See if I can rotate out there into the very middle, because paddling against the wind and against the current when you're out there in the very middle of the lake, it sucks. So I do not recommend that. If you're out here fishing in a kayak, try to stay around the Outer Banks areas. All right, just this one last cast, and then I'm going to change spots and change baits. All right, homies, back. Sorry, I had lost that anchor and the battery died, and then by the time I got the battery changed, I was out in the middle of the lake again, so I had to paddle back over here to the southwest bank area. Seen a couple decent bass out here jumping. Just gonna keep throwing the green pumpkin power bait Cinco. See if we can get anything.